The dispute over Kashmir has been going on for more than 70 years, making it one of the longest-running conflicts in the world. India and Pakistan have already fought 4 wars over the Himalayan region, and in February, a suicide attack on Indian forces brought the nuclear-armed neighbours to the brink of war once again. Now, with elections taking place in India and the ruling BJP's nationalist rhetoric ramping up, what will this mean for the future of Kashmir? Well, to discuss this, I'm joined now by the President of the Pakistan-administered territory, Azad Jammu and Kashmir, Sardar Masood Khan. Sir, pleasure having you with us in studio.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Istanbul. Now, as we mentioned, there are elections in India. Election fever, election fervor, a lot of talk about Pakistan, a lot of talk about Kashmir. It's a hot button issue, especially with the BJP. Prime Minister Modi and the BJP talking about finally ending terrorism in Kashmir, according to their definition. They talk about taking away some of the rights that those Kashmiris have in the valley under Indian-administered Kashmir. What's your response to that? Do you think that's all just election bluster, or that something big might happen after the elections in India?
I think what Narendra Modi has been saying is systemic and systematic. This is not just confined to the elections. Although they launched, the BJP, led by Mr. Narendra Modi, launched a very vicious campaign against the Kashmiris, against the Muslims in India, and against Pakistan during the recent elections. And the elections are continuing. Now, let me tell you, I called it systemic because they have been appealing to their voters, to their electorate, on the basis of their repression in Kashmir, and they've been stoking the fires of hatred against Pakistan. They've been promoting xenophobia and intolerance, and this has become the political idiom in India right now. So we apprehend that after the elections, this negative campaign would continue against Kashmiris, against Muslims, against Pakistanis. And this is being fed and fueled by the rise of Hindu extremism. I mean, BJP is supported by Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, then Bajrang Dal, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, and Shiv Sena. These are all violent extremist organizations. So I think that good sense should prevail in India, in South Asia. India should be steered back from this kind of extremism and this kind of fascism. In fact, they have been using some fascist tactics to deal with their opponents and with the Muslim population in general.
They say the extremism is on your side. So when they look at the Pulwama attack and 40 of the CRPF forces are killed and Jaish-e-Mohammed claims responsibility, they point to Pakistan, and they also point to the part of Kashmir that is under Pakistan's influence, in saying that all this extremism comes from there. These people have refuge there, they can organize, they can plan there. The extremism comes from Pakistan, which uses these extremist groups to attack India.
There was extremism in Pakistan, and it came in various forms. I mean, there was, of course, terrorism, and Pakistan for the past 18 years fought terrorism. And there were these outfits which propagated violent extremism. So we launched, I mean, Pakistan launched a series of operations to deal with hardcore terrorism and with this phenomena of violent extremism. And Pakistan has been succeeding. We are eliminating this threat, this menace.
The ones that attack Pakistan, but the ones that attack India?
No, let me tell you that we do not differentiate between different forms of terrorism or violent extremism. We condemn and fight all forms and manifestations of terrorism, whether they are targeting India or whether they are targeting people within Pakistan. But let me tell you that there is terrorism in Pakistan which is externally sponsored. It is not only an indigenous phenomenon. About this Pulwama attack, we aren't sure whether this was a terrorist attack or this was a false flag operation. We don't know.
False flag?
Yes, meaning that who was behind them, and why was there this statement from Jaish-e-Mohammed, an organization which had already been banned. What Pakistan has said, it said at that time after the attack that Pakistan was ready for joint investigation of the attack.
So who do you think was behind Jaish-e-Mohammed?
We don't know. I mean, these facts have not been established definitively.
Okay.
So India uses such attacks to demonize Pakistan, to intensify its repression against the Kashmiris. Post-Pulwama, Kashmiris have been targeted very heavily. I mean, Kashmiris are being arrested, they're being killed in coordinated search operations. I can tell you that most of the Kashmiris, 90% of them have boycotted these elections, the farce of elections that India tried to organize in Jammu and Kashmir. Our leaders have been incarcerated. They have been sent to these prison houses where they're being tortured. So the picture in Kashmir, in Indian occupied Kashmir after Pulwama has become very grim and gruesome because of Indian atrocities and crimes against humanity.
You say Indian occupied Kashmir, they look at the territory that you are president of and they say Pakistan occupied Kashmir. And I wonder, when we say you're the president of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, are you representing Kashmiri people or are you just representing Pakistan's interests over Kashmir?
No, I'm representing the Kashmiri people. In fact, there was an election in 2016 and we have two houses of the parliament there, the lower house and the upper house. They got together, they elected me as the president. We have the trappings of a state. We have a president in the state, we have a prime minister, we have a two-chamber parliament, we also have a two-tier high judiciary, we have the Supreme Court. So what I'm saying is, I mean, the answer to your question is that...
But you cannot get elected in Azad Jammu and Kashmir unless you agree to an oath that Kashmir will be a part of Pakistan.
Well, that has history, as a matter of fact. You know, two things that I want to point out. Way back in 1947, our forefathers, our founding fathers, fought a war of independence in the territory which is called Azad Kashmir. And they literally liberated this part of Jammu and Kashmir. They would have liberated Srinagar and the territory which is occupied right now. Had India not occupied the territory, they brought in their troops and they snatched this territory from the Maharaja of Kashmir and from the people of Kashmir. In fact, the irony is that the people of Kashmir in the Indian occupied Kashmir have been reduced to being aliens in their own homeland.
Okay, but certainly the Indians Indians will say the Pathans came and they invaded and that triggered it, right?
That's
and
a false
Maharaja
narrative.
couldn't make
That's
up
a
his
false
mind.
narrative.
Certainly, but
that's a false narrative.
If we can look at where we are right now, there's a big push from Pakistan and there's also a big push from a lot of Kashmiris who don't want to be a part of Pakistan to just have the UN resolution enacted, right? For a vote, a referendum on independence. Do you support that fully?
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
The Indians say the Pakistanis need to pull out their forces, i.e. give up the territory that you're in control of in order to have that referendum. Would you ever do that?
You have to read very carefully the statements which are issued by the Indian policymakers or their leaders or spokespersons of their foreign office. Let me tell you that it's a false narrative. In 1947, the United Nations Security Council decided that Pakistan should withdraw its troops, but that was not an agreed resolution. There were many other resolutions, and the last resolution was passed in 1952, Resolution 98, which said that India and Pakistan both would withdraw their forces from their areas of control proportionally. India was to reduce its troops to 12 to 18,000, and we were asked to reduce the troops to 3,000 to 6,000. Now, we could not work it out because India was saying that you withdraw first, vacate the territory, and they would do it later. We said no, we would like to do it simultaneously. We did not want to leave a vacuum in Azad Kashmir. So you have to scan and scrutinize these false narratives which are peddled by India.
Now, a couple months ago, the temperature was very high. People were afraid that we might actually be at a point where these two nuclear-armed neighbors would go to war. Things have calmed down a little bit now. Where are we right now? Are we anywhere near the same galaxy as a peace deal?
Well, let me tell you that everything is on hold until Indian electoral process is complete and the new Prime Minister is elected there. Only after the elections we would know who's won the elections, whether it is Narendra Modi or his opponents. We don't know. So
Who would you like to win?
we can't make choices. We are not voters in the Indian elections, obviously, but we would not like to vote extremists into powers, xenophobes into power. We would like people who are peacemakers, who believe in peace, who believe in dialogue and diplomacy and engagement. Because now your question is that where we are right now. I'll tell you that we are in a state of limbo as far as some sort of engagement is concerned. Pakistan made some overtures, diplomatic overtures. It started with the opening of a corridor between India and Pakistan. Also, the second gesture that Pakistan made was to send a prisoner of war of India back. He was not held, a pilot. And then Pakistan has been constantly offering negotiations to India. The Pakistan's council, and this is the council that comes from the people of Jammu and Kashmir, whether they are from the Indian occupied Kashmir or Azad Kashmir, we're saying, move back to the negotiating table. Let's go to the United Nations Security Council. Let's implement those resolutions which were passed in the 1950s. And let's recreate that mechanism for putting ballot boxes in Muzaffarabad and Srinagar and other cities, towns and villages of the Indian occupied territory, so that, and Azad Kashmir, so that the people of Jammu and Kashmir as a whole can determine their political future.
Sardar Masood Khan, pleasure having you on the Newsmakers.